What is going on, guys? This is the Poke Tea Time podcast where we serve you up a cup of the hottest takes on what's going on in the Pokemon community. I'm NotShivam, and I'm joined this evening with the one and only Radar. How's it
What
going,
up,
man?
Shiv?
Long time no
Hey,
see, dude.
just chilling. Yeah, it's been a
Yeah,
while since I've been on this side or on any sort of podcast.
yeah. It's been a
But
it's been a hot
happy,
minute.
yeah, happy to be back, man.
Yeah, it's
Been poking.
you're always welcome on the podcast. It's always. I mean, even though it's been a long time since you've been on the podcast, I see it all at all these events. So it's like,
Yeah,
and we game together. So
yeah,
that's another thing. So
yeah. We've
I'm
been
sure
playing a
I'm
lot
sure
of Fortnite.
Yeah, we've been playing a lot of Fortnite. For those guys who do not know, Pokemon Radar is cracked at Fortnite, 100%. This man is cracked.
Yeah,
The
especially with the
man,
no builds.
yeah, with the no builds, the man is nasty. Already people are like recognizing like the cards already in your hands and the cases behind you and the empty cases. Yeah, these guys go. Radar's been going through product like crazy.
They sent 2 case. This was fun to own back in 2018.
Man's an
Sold all
animal.
those boxes for $2,000 each.
Man's an
Laura, your
animal.
stuff's falling.
So before we get right into it, so this evening we are going to be talking about Pokemon trophy cards. Obviously, we saw what happened with Logan Paul this week, and we're going to briefly talk about that, but that's not going to be the premise of this entire conversation. This conversation is going to be mostly around rarity and demand and valuations behind trophy cards and whatnot. But before we get right into it, I kind of want to talk about something very serious, and that's the elephant in the room, and that's the fact that Yizzy's not here. So it's unfortunate to say this, but Yizzy is taking a step back from content, and that could also potentially mean sales. I know he has sales going on that are scheduled. It's because he has things that he has to take care of before taking this actual break. Besides that, I don't, there's a lot of things that I'm still trying to figure out in regards to finding a co-host. That's something that's in the process. I don't know if he's going to come back. I don't know if he isn't going to come back. These are all things that are, still kind of up in the air. And that's something that I'm still trying to figure out. Does that mean he's going to show up to Collecticon? I don't know. This is just all things that needs to be figured out. But, the show has to continue and the podcast has to continue. So, again, I appreciate every single one of you guys joining the podcast this evening. Make sure you hit that like. Make sure you hit that subscribe. Make sure you hit that smash on the comment section with the keys in the hands and all that. And yeah, I mean, I appreciate every single one of you guys for supporting the podcast for the past, I guess, year and a half now. It's crazy. It's
Wow.
crazy it's been that long. But yeah. But let's go ahead and get right into it.
Well,
How
thank you
about
to
this?
Izzy too. I mean, appreciate
Yeah.
Izzy for doing all that with you and getting this thing kicked off the ground and started and all that. And obviously, people go through their own things in life. And
Yeah.
like I had my podcast with Squeaks, and we had to stop that because it just like didn't hit our schedules. Like we didn't align properly on scheduling and different directions on content for the both of us. So people take different walks of life at different points, but you guys had a great thing together, and if it comes back and realigns, awesome. If not, I'm sure you'll find another great co-host, or you'll launch your own singular podcast. However it works out, it's meant to be. So,
Yeah.
thank you to Yizzy, and hopefully, wish him the best on
Yeah.
everything he's working on.
Yeah. And just to add on that, like myself and Yizzy, we're still good friends. I consider him like a brother of mine. So, at the end of the day, that friendship is always going to exist, regardless if the podcast exists or not. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into the nitty gritty. I won't really expand on that kind of conversation when it comes to Yizzy. If you have any particular questions for Yizzy, definitely hit him up. But it's one of those things where you just have to kind of be selfish and take some time out for yourself and figure out ways to come back bigger and better and stronger. But yeah, Radar did not clean up his room.
No, it's I have too many things and we don't have enough space. We sorry,
Laura
Laura.
said that.
But oh well, that's okay. Something I closed the closet at least, so you don't
Yeah,
have to
you
see
did.
all
You did.
that.
I mean,
But
that looked pretty organized. You had your clothes up on the hangers, and
yeah,
that was
I
fine.
pulled out one thing from the closet just because I have to do this to you every time I see you.
Please don't.
But
Do not do this. I already
I
know
have
what it
to.
is.
I know
Do
you
not.
do. Like
I know what this is. I'm gonna hate you for it.
Pokemon Master Trainer with 2 Charizard arts, 4 base set packs. What an item! Thank you, Peter
That
Trainer Ryan.
that's the one that got away.
I don't know what to do with this now.
Yeah, I mean, you could always send it to me for like I'll give you like $7 for it.
All right.
No, so for those guys who do not know, one of those so that product, the reason why it's the one that got away is because back in 2000 and I want to say 2020. It might have been 2020.
Early 2020.
Yeah, early 2020. I had just came across a card shop in Calgary, Canada, and essentially they sold me 2 Plasma Storm booster boxes for literally less than 50% market value at that time, and which was like $750 a pop. And I got it, sold one for $2,100, and I used that money. I was on eBay. I had that in my watching. Well, not really quote unquote watching, because like when you're watching it tells you how many people are watching it. So like I didn't watch it purposefully. And I was also looking at my factory sealed shiny Charizard combat figure, and I ended up buying that. And I was gonna come back and circle around the next week later to buy that, and it was gone. And I didn't find out till like months and months later that it ended up being in John's possession. So, like, for those guys who don't know, it's a 2001 Master Trainer board game. But what's funny is that it's $19.99 unlimited base set packs that are factory sealed within the package itself. You have it, and Cool Trainer Ryan has it, and those are the only those are probably the only 2 that I know of that
exist. It's even a
exist.
crazier story too. Like, I had just done that podcast with Ryan probably at that time where he showed me his, and I was like, oh, I want one. So I looked on eBay, I found it, I bought it. And yeah, I haven't seen one since, and I haven't seen any other people post it. But the even crazier thing about that is you posted a TikTok about replying to this, at the time, this no-name collector, Don Diego, who said, like, what was that one item that got away? And you talked about that, and then I replied to yours. I didn't even know who she was at that point. Now we live together. So it's absolutely wild how that worked out, because like, yeah, she like essentially like through TikTok, I didn't even know that she was a part of that, and then now we're dating, and now, like, it's just amazing how all that like intertwined.
It is all connects. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, that's
and now
that
she's
board
huge,
game.
bigger than both of us combined, and she's just a monster taking over the Pokemon community.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, yeah. She's instead of saying to the moon, she's like to Mars now.
Yeah, she's past the moon. She built the whole house on the moon. She's like set up there, established, goes back every now and then to hang out with us. But yeah, she's on her way to.
Shout out to Don Diego Trading. Make sure you follow her. Almost at 20K, unless she hit 20K like yesterday. But yeah, it's crazy how things you just see it and it's gone. Poof.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get
the person on your podcast. That's
yeah.
That took it away.
Yeah. No hard feelings. It's something that I just it's always cool to see. It's always awesome to see, because like I'm sure it's like funny enough, we actually just mentioned this on Rev's podcast when we had Rev over last week. And I don't know if you watched it, but according to Rev, you have the #1 beard in the Pokemon hobby, and I can agree with that.
I did. I cut it though. So it's, as you can tell, it's much shorter than before. And I'm trying to let it grow back because I miss having it. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's just a little like uneven and scruffy at the moment.
Eh.
So I demoted myself to like number 5. So Rev is winning at the moment. I'll
Yeah,
make
I
my
said
way
I was
back
like
up there.
16th. Yeah, I
Yeah,
said I was
you're
16th.
no, you're up there. You're up there
Nah,
for sure.
I
You're
don't
top
think so.
10.
I'm like
You're top
16th.
10.
I'm looking, dude. It takes like 2 days where my beard is like perfectly great, and then after cons, it's just like I look like a hobo, kind of like right now. Um, but
Oh no, it looks better than mine.
eh,
Mine is
uh,
scruffy.
mine's like it's weird.
Number 7 now. Jeez. I was
Dang.
thinking number 5. Um, but yeah, it'll come back. By the next time, the next like couple months or so, I'll
Yeah,
be back to number 1.
yeah, easy, no questions asked. But yeah, we saw what happened this weekend. So like, I kind of want to get, I want to know what like your impression is. Like, what are your thoughts about what happened this weekend in regards to that kind of news? Like, did you know that this was gonna happen?
I
Did
knew
you?
about this maybe the week after the deal happened.
Dang, you've known since that long?
I I was almost going to be there in Dubai for it.
That's right. You did go to Dubai.
Yeah, so I went to Dubai and met that person that owned the 10 back in what March of 2020. So and the thing is he didn't show me it in person because he was super like he is so private and he didn't even show me. He showed me the Pokemon stuff that he had. Other than that, he hid the rest of his collections, which he has told me about since then,
Uh huh.
because it was the first time I met him, and he was just, he was excited. Like he watched my podcast before I did the podcast in his house with Mr. Fuji.
Shout out to
Um,
Mr. Fuji.
so that's how I met him. Mr. Fuji hooked up the connection. But yeah, I'm really good friends with that guy and talked to him quite a bit. And he, I hate that he told me, but I also love that he told me because I just like couldn't tell anybody.
That
And
sucks. Yeah.
and but I try to relay the information to people. I was just like, hold on to your trophies, buy trophies, hold on to your trophies, something's gonna happen. So I kept it quiet, but I also like tried to spread the knowledge to other people that
Absolutely.
something big was coming. So yeah, my reaction, it took longer than I thought it would to come out. Uh, it makes sense that he did that with WWE
And
and it
his
matched up
27th
with
birthday
his.
too.
Yeah, and then I'm just waiting for the video though. The video is going to be the shining moment of this, I think. Um,
It, it really just
because
makes you wonder, because like, if this is a video that took place last year, I'm sure he's already made Pokemon content. Like, I'm sure he's shot stuff in regards to Pokemon right now that we probably won't see till next year, which is kind of
yeah.
interesting to think about.
Well, no, I think he's an extremely strategic person. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't consider myself like, friends or anything with the guy, but I've been to Logan Paul's house. I've talked with him. I've done deals with him.
Yeah.
But he's extremely strategic with this stuff, and clearly you saw him drop his um, promo for the company he founded. And
Hmm.
of course, they have a PSA 8 illustrator. So the fact that he bought a PSA 10 for this much money and then happens to start a company that owns an 8 and they're going to sell it in fractional shares. He lines things up very well. He's very
Yeah.
calculated. So,
Speaking of
yeah.
calculated, because of that, I actually have one of the guys who is kind of up there with Liquid Marketplace joining the podcast, coming relatively
Yeah,
soon. So I got that okayed today. So
good.
yeah, pretty
Yeah,
sweet stuff. But
yeah, that's exciting. I don't know what to
yeah,
think about that stuff. I passed
yeah,
on
I don't know
working with
either.
them myself, but
Yeah,
it just wasn't like it didn't fit. Well, like I talked to them like a year ago, and
yeah.
they wanted me as like an influencer to like partner with them, and it just like didn't fit the brand. I didn't really understand
They
crypto and all this
also
fractional share
wanted
stuff. And
Don Diego too.
yeah, they wanted everybody. I mean, they
Yeah,
wanted all the big names, but I'm washed up now, so
I don't think
I
you're
haven't gotten
washed
the
up.
call.
Nah, man. You put up that story the other day. It's like, yeah, I did this in 2020. Like, but radar to the moon, radar to the moon.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
back to the
I
ground
really
floor.
think you're a sleeper in this space for sure. Cause like I'm sure you listened to Lil Wayne when he said real G's move in silence like lasagna.
Yeah.
I think that's you. That bar is literally you. Cause like often at times you do things that isn't flashy, but it's also very calculated. You don't find out until a year later that you're doing all this stuff, you know? Like you like all this stuff that you do, like we don't really get the ins and outs until much later. So it's always interesting whenever I talk to you cuz it's like, man, what does Radar know that none of us know? What does he
Well,
know?
it's
Um
taken 7 years to learn that.
yeah.
The first 5, 6 years of collecting Pokemon, the moment I got something or the moment I heard something, it share, clout, clout, clout. Just because I was so excited and I enjoyed it
Yeah.
so much. But because it's turned into like a full-time business for me and again, it's my livelihood now. I got to play it safely. I got to play it strategically and do the best that I can.
Absolutely.
Um, so it's different now, but and it's still tough. Like I still screw up a ton with that stuff, but it took 6 years to learn to move in silence the best that I can.
Yeah, and I mean,
So
it's funny because I remember the last time we had you on the podcast, you had said something that has stuck with me, but because of that, I want to ask a question on top of that. So what you said on the last podcast was you're more of the type of person that collects memories versus the actual card, and if I recall, I can't remember if it was a video or if it was like with us in person or if it was in another podcast or something. I can't remember exactly, but you said that there was a lot of people influencing you around that time or probably before that in terms of being able to sell your cards. Are you now in this position now where, are you holding on to stuff more versus like bigger stuff more versus actually selling it? Um like what's going on? Like what seems are you collecting? Like what seems to be going on as far as that goes?
yeah, I mean
Specifically with
this
Pokemon, because I know you're
yeah,
involved with different TCGs and stuff like that.
right. But yeah, it's I mean mainly Pokemon. It's the reason I'm able to do what I'm doing, and
Hmm.
I've been doing this I think officially a year and a half full time where I quit my job. So that
Congrats.
first like thank you. That first like 6 months was just like do anything and everything. So I was traveling a ton, meeting a ton of people, buying and selling to create connections and network. And this past like year, I've really taken it pretty slow. It's
Hmm.
been kind of detrimental to to the business and my mental of my sanity and I guess security of of my bank account by just like not selling things and holding on to things. So it's been a little bit more stressful that way. But yes, I bought some really big items with my business partner because we wanted to obviously like mitigate our own risk, but also continue doing business within Pokemon. And um, my business partner has more cash flow than I do, so and I have like the networking and the
Correct.
selling and
Yeah.
all that. So it was just like a perfect partnership. So um, yeah, we collected a full Pikachu trophy full art set.
Which was
So the
shown
modern,
in
yeah,
Rev's video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out.
yes, yeah. So that altogether was a six-figure investment, and
Wow.
with the hopes of a six-figure return, profit, six-figure profit, because of how early we got into it and the grades we ended up with. We ended up with almost a full nine set. We have an 8.5 number two, which I'm gonna try to get the nine bump on. We'll see what happens. So that's something I went after. We also got a Tropical Mega Battle trophy, a number three, which is actually headed to Heritage now,
Hmm.
because again, I had this insider information, I guess, about this happening. So, I held onto this thing as long as I could, and I knew it was the right time, the best possible time to sell. I don't know if it's going to be too early, um, but yeah, I'm looking to move some of the bigger items now with the news that Logan came out with. I mean, spending $5.25 million on a Pokemon card has been huge news. It is huge news
Yeah.
all around the world, not just within our hobby.
Yeah.
Um, and with his video coming out, he said at the end of this month, I hope it's the right timing. I might be too early. There's always this little window, this little pocket of time for when the market moves like this of is there enough awareness? Are people actually picking it up yet? Or is it the market movers gonna pick them up and then talk about it? So,
Hmm.
um, the Jeremy Padowers, the Logan Pauls, the Steve
Absolutely.
Aokis. So I'm hoping that by June, when this auction goes live on Heritage, it just goes bonkers. But we'll, I won't know until then.
Are you did you make that specific decision because you saw a similar pattern as to what happened back in 2020?
So the like core business for me when I first quit my job to do this, I found an opportunity in trophy cards. People were undervaluing them, and they were at this price point where it was scary to buy from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
It was, $20,000 for a Trophy Kangaskhan, $20,000 for a Play Promo Umbreon.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a clear opportunity to me to really just to flip these cards. And that number one, that kind of ostracized me from specific communities within Pokemon because I pretty sure I influenced a lot of price changes on these cards, specifically the Umbreon,
Hey,
the Kangaskhan, and
influencers, man, gotta do what you gotta
yeah,
do.
and like I'll be honest, I made a shit ton of money in 6 months buying and
Congrats,
flipping
rightfully so.
trophy cards,
Yeah.
and I kick myself for not buying multiples because I those cards are awesome and I love them, and now I can't afford them because the price is double, triple,
Yeah,
quadrupled.
so in a way you also shot yourself in the foot too. So
Exactly. So like
evens
I'm
out,
here.
even Steven.
Yeah, I hate myself just as much as those other guys do.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. I'm with you. I'm with you. But yeah, like I saw there was a clear opportunity in my head the first time that I really like saw an opportunity and just went for it. And it was buying and flipping trophies. I've kept a couple kind of lower end ones for myself for like a binder, and then I've also with my business partner, we strategically bought the Pikachu set and we bought that TNB, the Tropical Mega Battle number 3. So it's yeah, there was a period of time, and 6 months was a long time to be able to do that. It's over now with
Yeah.
all the awareness and all the big players in the game. So uh, I can't
Well,
really do I can't do that anymore. I can't.
okay.
It's just not it's
Right.
not viable.
Well, that's kind of something that I wanted to talk about. Um, Obviously we know that the over like the amount in terms of absolute rarity that was produced in regards to the Pikachu Illustrator card is about 39. I mean, some people say there's 40 because they think that Asuka Nishida owns one of them, but we don't know. Um, that's a rumor, but we know for a
Yeah,
fact that there was 39 made, and PSA currently has I believe 24 in that pop report registered.
yeah,
There's other trophy cards that have way less distribution in comparison. Like the Pika 1997 trophy card. Um, you know, Pokemon Snap contest cards. There's a lot of trophy cards. There's a few trophy cards out there that have less distribution. Based on the current sale that Logan Paul bought, I mean, obviously he's one of the very, very few people who can afford these cards. But because of
yeah.
that, do you think that trophy cards are still undervalued in comparison because of the price point that he bought it at? Like even if he bought it for that much, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe that trophy card should be worth, a couple of multiples of its current price point? Like, do you think it should be worth 2, 3, 4, 5x?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen the problem is we haven't seen PSA 10s of the trophy sell like that. Um, I know that they'll be less than the Illustrator in today's market just because look, the Illustrator has been the poster child as the holy grail of Pokemon to the general public
Public, yeah.
since the beginning.
Has that been
Um,
fabricated though? Has that demand been
well,
fabricated?
it's not a fabrication. It's just what the community decided. It's not fabricated. It's
Okay,
it's what was
that's
it
fair.
what was decided. It's what was decided. It's what was um you know it, there's different conversations about it. about, for me, it's not the Grail card. To me, it's the 97 Pikas, the
Do you
number
think
one,
that
especially.
deserves to be $1 million card over? I mean, a multi-million-dollar card over the
Yeah.
Pikachu Illustrator card,
Yes,
and
100%.
that's
Like,
purely
I,
based
like
on rarity, though.
that's based on historic value, rarity, and yeah, well, yeah, I mean, and just from also, it's all personal. It's all like my own
Yeah,
personal bias,
preference.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, like that, the 97 Pika, any first of all, any Pika trophy, the SSBs, the TMBs,
Mm-hmm.
yes, there's less of them than the illustrators,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also like it's it was harder to obtain. You had to be good at the card game. You had to win the tournament of that year to get that card.
Mm-hmm.
The illustrator was open to everybody in Japan, to whoever wanted to. It was 3 contests, right? I
Yeah,
watched your
3.
video the other day, which again, who knows how many illustrators actually are? At one point, we thought there was 4, we thought there was 13, we thought there was 20, and then it came to 39, and then obviously we don't know about extra copies and all that stuff, and artists and employees. How many are out there? We don't know. Uh, so it could forever change, right? But the 97 Pika was, the very first Pokemon card tournament ever, which to me is the most historic event in Pokemon history and ever will be. I don't care about these one of one Belvin cards and Post Malone cards and that stuff. Like, that's not historic. There's no, like, that doesn't have any historic value to me. The 97 tournament, the very first tournament, you had to be a kid in Japan playing the game, playing the card game, and be the best there ever was. It's in the song. So,
Yeah.
uh, not only the historic value, but there's less of them too. They handed out, I don't want to get the numbers wrong, but I believe they handed out, I think 4 of each or 3 of each, depending on the age group,
Uh-huh.
for the tournament.
The
So,
pop on the Pika first place, is that 2?
um, I think we should look it up, and anybody can look it up on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
psa.com. But I know that some of them are mislabeled.
Hmm.
The 97, 98, and 99, the first, second, and third tournament, they are distinguishable based off the text.
Hmm.
And one of the 97s in the PSA report is actually a second or third tournament, so a 98 Pika. And then I don't know if there's regrades. I don't know if there's any of that, but uh, yeah, it's because I think one of the 97 Pikas has a 5 total pop when there's supposed to only be 4 that exist.
Yeah,
But I think it's because of that. So
yeah.
there's a lot of, when things were, early on, things were misgraded, mislabeled, whatever. And yeah, I know there's extra copies out there too that we've seen. So uh, it's really low pop. They're all single digits. Pop 10s are, there's some of them that have 0, some of them have 1. So to me, those 97 Pikas are not far and beyond, but a clear number 1 as the Grail over the Illustrator.
Mm. I mean, that makes
But
sense. Um, I guess like my
what do you
next
think?
um,
What's your take on it? I mean,
I personally speaking, I think that the Pika trophy card, it should be a multi-million-dollar card.
yeah, and
Um,
it is. It is.
Because like if you look at most of us as collectors, right, we look like even with modern sets, like we look at things based on pure rarity, right? That's where we attribute a lot of the value to,
Mhm.
whether it's grading or anything of the sort. So like if the absolute rarity behind the Pikachu Illustrator card is 39, um, and the significance behind it is based on an art contest, and then you're talking about the significance of the first ever tournament that took place ever, um, I think that the trophy card for that should have that value attributed to it, and it could very much happen. It might not happen right now,
So
but
do you think it should be more valuable than the Illustrator?
yes,
The number
yes,
1 PSA
yes,
10 97. Okay.
yeah, one hundred
Okay.
percent.
Yeah.
Just knowing the overall pop and how many people like. I'm sure that people who have Pikachu Illustrator cards have quote unquote diamond hands, but because of where the population for the Pika 1997 trophy card itself, I think the people who own that I think they have way stronger hands than those that own Pikachu Illustrator cards,
Yeah.
because I also look at it in the sense of how often do you see that particular card on the market in comparison to the Pikachu Illustrator card. I've seen Pikachu Illustrator cards on the market ever since I've been on the hobby.
Mhm.
So it's just one of those things, I guess. But for me, preference wise, if there was any trophy card that I want in my collection, it would have to be a Pokemon Snap contest card, just because I wanted to match my Snap machine really badly.
Yeah, I've always dreamed about those cards. It's definitely been from a yeah, like that's the number one set I've always wanted to complete myself or see completed.
Mhm.
I don't have any. I missed so many opportunities to buy them.
I mean, you did handle
Uh,
one. You did middleman one,
uh,
right? The
no,
Bulbasaur.
no. I never, I never middleman any of those.
Mm.
No, that's Enlightened Bulbasaur. He's my
Bulbasaur,
business
yeah.
partner. He
Yeah.
has a PSA 9, um, I think it deserves a 10. He should keep trying to regrade it, but
Yeah.
um, it's a really clean card. But as for the snap cards, yeah, like I huge nostalgia towards the N64 game. I mean, I played that a lot. Played it more than I think any other Pokemon game besides like Pokemon Red and Blue.
It's
But
more relatable. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And those cards, when you hear about them for the first time, it's such a cool story. It's like super hard to and when you heard about the Magikarp never popping up for sale, I mean, until recently, it's just like this not it's not attainable. It's just an unattainable goal, and
Yeah.
it's that competitive thing that I want to chase, that other people want to chase. I know some people are, I think one or two people are very close at completing it.
Yeah.
Um,
I know who you're talking about.
so I'm excited, like extremely jealous. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna like I am so envious of anyone that has a single snap card.
So sometimes I
But
wonder. Okay,
so
let me ask
proud.
you a question.
So proud.
Would you sell all the inventory that you like? If you just said like, "Hey, I just want to have that one card," would you sell your entire inventory, your entire collection, just to be able to have that one card? Uh,
Um,
uh, it could be any of those Pokemon Snap contest cards.
yeah, I mean, if I could get the Pikachu, I would sell as much as I could to get it, and then go get a job and just chill and hold on to it. Um, but yeah. I mean, there's definitely a few things that I'd love to do that with. I don't know if I'd ever be able to have the balls to do it. Like a first edition base set box, I really want so I can open it. But I don't think I'd ever be able to do that. Even
I could have bought one back in the fall of last year, but I didn't want to sell my other assets to be able to do that. But
yeah, that would have
um
been an interesting trade.
yeah, I
It's
get too
tough.
nervous. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
tough. It's
it is
really tough.
tough.
I mean, I've had all my eggs in Pokemon. I remember early on in like 2016, 17 being on E4, people would always question like how much of your net worth is in Pokemon? How much like what's okay to have in Pokemon? And a lot of people were like 40, 50%. I was at like 30%, which even that was high
Hi,
considering
yeah.
a standard portfolio of investments. And then when Pokemon Go happened and when Logan Paul happened and the quarantine happened, like literally everybody in that in that thread, it went from 30% to 90% because of the jump in
Jeez.
prices.
Yeah.
So my net worth even today is literally 90% Pokemon. And like the thing is like I'm okay with that because I understand it. I know it. It's what I do as a business. So
I,
I would absolutely for a card or an item that I could consider as an investment, I would absolutely throw everything at it, even if I
mm,
had to sell other assets like you. Um,
I think mine's probably 20 or 30%.
okay.
Maybe 20 to 40%, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes that's uncontrollable. I mean, especially
Yeah,
when you
if
become
prices
an
spike up
addict.
and that
That,
number increases drastically. Yeah.
right. So what do you do? Sell it and put it into more Bitcoin or something?
Yeah, who knows?
I don't know.
Um, it's just it's always like an interesting conversation to have with people when it comes to the conversation of trophy cards, because like, um, it's like sometimes I've sat down. It's like, man, should I sell my entire Pokemon collection, like all the toys, all the cards that I have, just to get that one card and just chill? Should I like do it? And I don't know. I don't think I have the kind of balls to do that. I don't think. Like I'm in that kind of same boat where it's like, man, it's just like you're trading so many things. You're giving up so much just to get that one thing. Um,
Yeah, if you look at,
yeah,
well, it's easier too to, if you really understand and look at it and be like, hey, I can definitely get this again if I
yeah,
sell it.
absolutely.
Um, then it's a very hard discipline, and it's about goal
Mhm.
setting. And I am one of the most undisciplined people when it comes to collecting and and doing what I'm supposed to do, because I just sporadically buy whatever I can whenever it comes up.
Yeah, I don't think I
Um,
don't I think that's the case for everyone too though, right?
well,
Like I don't
yeah,
think
yeah,
I don't think I've met anyone who is super strategic in their purchases. Like there people make mistakes all the time when it comes to their purchases. Um
someone like Pokey, like Rev, like Nick,
yeah, I
he
mean, yeah.
he stuck to boxes his entire time, just booster boxes, booster boxes, booster boxes, and he dabbled in video games here and there, and that crushed it for him. He um, dabbled in some grading, but he bought two grade. He never bought graded. Pokerev is one of the most disciplined people that
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
business wise, collecting wise, and it's really shown. I mean, that's why he is who he is.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he's crushed it on YouTube, because he was just disciplined. That's why he's completed the goals that he's completed. I don't know if he shared everything, but um,
Yeah.
he has done so much in such a quick amount of time with Pokemon because of his discipline.
Yeah, but I'm sure
And
that if you were to ask him himself, like, hey, like, would you like if I like obviously you're answering the question for yourself in regards
yeah,
like you saying that you're not disciplined. He could say the same thing himself too. It's a humble aspect.
hmm, yeah,
I could say like in my perspective, I think you're very disciplined in comparison to the vast majority of people. Like, shoot, even myself. Like, if you like, I think you're more disciplined than me.
oh yeah,
Because
perspective.
you have the foresight to be able to sell when you need to sell, whereas like me, I'm super stubborn. Like I buy and I hold on regardless of what happens. Like I'm one of those types of people that regardless of the market goes up or down, I'm going to hold on to something because like I'm kind of fortunate in the sense of like I have a roof over my head. I'm running a business, like
Yeah,
I have food, like I'm not strapped for cash.
yeah,
Um
that's the strategic play, right? Like, if I was in your shoes, and I was at one point where I had a nice job, and I was holding things better. I was doing a better job of holding things. I mean, there was still plenty of stuff that I sold too early that I didn't have to sell, but
yeah.
um, absolutely. Like, I like right now, I am looking for a job. I want to turn this back into a hobby for fun. I want to turn this
Yeah,
back into collecting.
you said that in the like when we last had you on the podcast because you feel like
Yeah,
you're more built for that corporate kind of structure
yeah,
versus the non-traditional sense. You're more traditional versus like the non-traditional side.
right. Because I'm so sporadic with what I'm doing. I'm doing a podcast for 6 months, and then I'm stopping. I'm doing YouTube for 2 weeks, and then I'm stopping. So, like, yeah, I'm just set up
But
more
if you never
for.
started your podcast, this podcast wouldn't exist.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. I'm
No,
sure, and maybe
dude,
it helped it
I'm
start a
not
week
I'm not
earlier, but
I'm not BSing. I'm telling you right now, like your podcast and the Shadowless podcast
yeah,
was like me watching both that and that. I was like, I want to do entertainment, but I also
yeah,
want to be educational, informative because that's the two kind of things that you guys provided. Like they provided entertainment, you provided that information, that hardcore, high level based information kind of podcast that you had. And when I watch, I told Yizzy like, hey, let's go ahead and start this podcast. It didn't happen until
yeah,
summer passed, and then I brought it up again. I was like, hey, we should start this podcast. And this was back in 2020, and then finally in
mhm,
the fall, it finally just happened. So like this podcast, all the opportunities that's been presented to myself and Yizzy, sponsorships, everything that would have never happened if it wasn't for your podcast and Nate and Jordan Fringe and Danny over
yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah. It's amazing what it does, and thank you for that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I definitely saw when I once I stopped the podcast, I definitely saw a decrease in business opportunities myself. Like,
But
even though I was getting 1,000 views, 2,000 views
yeah, you were
on some of the
crushing it.
bigger ones, um, like the doors that it opened up everywhere else was huge and massive. So
But if you
um,
ever do go
yeah.
back on podcasts, you should start now. YouTube CPM for podcasts now has gone sky high. That's why like Logan Paul's
Really?
most yeah that so like typically
Damn.
speaking like Logan Paul, he's never had to like put like you know how like on certain YouTube videos like yeah, they'll have like an intro on the actual video and you can like actually click through different segments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before that, the Logan's podcast never did that, and that
Mm.
changed literally just recently because he noticed that the CPM has gone sky high for that. So the payout for visual based podcast has gone
Wow.
up.
All
And
right.
I have other resources, other people that are in this space that or are in the
Backing it up.
YouTube space that can basically back that up.
All right,
Um,
Squeaks, we got to do this, man. Where you at? We got to get back on
Yeah, that's
it.
someone else who I've been wanting on the podcast. So it's just now it's like I have a list of people, and now it's like I'm trying to get as many people on the podcast as possible because I understand the importance of that, and the channels grow. Before the channel lost a little bit of momentum, but
Yeah,
um now it's kind of picked back up in the past like couple of weeks. So you know,
that's
just
good.
kind of capitalizing on all that. But yeah, if start it back up. I'm
Yeah.
waiting. You know me. Whenever you go live every single on those mornings, it's like, is he doing the podcast? And it's like I click on, it's like, he's gaming or
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
he's
I'll be
he's
live. I'll
on
be live
eBay.
tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
and I'm
it's
so
worth it.
and I don't even follow that schedule. I say I'll stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I end up doing it once a week.
Hey,
But
it's tough. It's tough.
yeah, that's one of the hardest thing for sure is staying strict to a streaming schedule is so hard. But
Absolutely.
yeah, no, I've had like some just crazy support and requests to start the podcast again. So and I keep saying I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. I just haven't done it. I just don't know what to do. I know the thing that I did with Squeaks, definitely something that I could do, like
Yeah.
no problem. But doing the solo podcast with guests, I don't have ideas anymore. Like I did it was essentially, the collector story. So I was doing my friends and collectors just their stories, and it was same rhythm the whole time. It was easy and it was good conversation. But like, I can't go back to those guests and do the same podcast, so
Yeah.
I have to figure out a new angle, I guess.
That was sort of that was the concern of ours. Whether it was should we have guests every single week, should we spread it
Hmm.
out? It's very different. You know, I think there's just so many players now versus when you started your podcast. Like
Yeah.
the amount of people that was in that space doing that kind of high level stuff is nowhere near how many people are involved now.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of intermingling happening between sports and Pokemon and crypto. Look, there's just so much. There's just so much things that are happening that are interchangeable to where I think with given the amount of resources you have and the connections that you've built, um, since you've been in this space, could do that.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely there were definitely road bumps too. Like I always wanted SM Pride on my podcast, but that's never gonna happen. Never did happen. I wanted to get Aoki on, and that just wasn't gonna happen. I wanted to get these people on that I was working with, and it just didn't happen. So there was definitely a lot of roadblocks that just kind of like beat me down. But podcasting is a lot of fun. I definitely miss it. I'm enjoying this already so much. So
No, I mean I always
it's
like it when
definitely
you come
gotta
on the podcast. It's always
yeah
great.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Um,
I mean, we actually, no one knows this. This is the alpha, except a few people. Um, we might be having Chum Lee join the podcast before Collecticon,
what?
and yeah,
Wow, that's huge.
yeah, we might be having Chum Lee, before Collecticon. So, Collecticon's kind of working on that, getting him and
Yeah,
Gary on the podcast,
yeah.
before that. So, should be pretty cool.
Well, Gary's easy. I
Yeah,
could,
it's
I could
it's
get
a
you Gary.
package deal. It's a package deal.
Yeah,
So
that's the angle. That's a good angle.
yeah,
Let me tell you a nice little Chum Lee story. So this is before your time. This is not too long ago though. This is
yeah.
2017.
Jeez.
This was like this was actually the beginning of when I like decided to go deep dive into Pokemon. 2017 Worlds was in Anaheim, California, right across the street from Disneyland. And back then it was literally E4 and only E4 of like what I did and who I talked to.
Yeah.
A little bit of Instagram, but the Instagram people were mainly E4 as well.
Yeah.
So uh, I lived in San Jose, California at the time, and decided to drive down and go to this thing. So this was uh, like the biggest Pokemon meetup ever of collectors. There was like 20 of us. Essen Pratt, Charlie Herlocker, um, Gen Pokemon, some old people like Thorgene, who's out of the hobby now. There was Pokemon Master 556. There was all these people that are out of like not really in the hobby anymore, but were like the biggest collectors. So it was this huge collector meetup. And obviously, if you've never been to Worlds, it's an event for trading cards for the video game, whatever. It's for
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
players to play the game and challenge or fight against
Hmm.
each other. But there's always a little trade section for people, and there's people from Japan sometimes that come in and will trade stuff, and it's a trade section, no selling, you get in trouble. Uh, but you just go
I did
under
not
the
know that.
table and go under the table, deal cash, do PayPal, Venmo, whatever. And Chum Lee was there. Chum Lee, this was kind of riding the hype of the Gary on Pawn Stars episode.
Huh.
This was like the peak of that hype of that episode. And Chum Lee came and was like just randomly placing boxes and packs and cards around the event for people to find. He was like posting on his Instagram, "Oh, hid this here, go find it." It was also one of the biggest like Pokemon Go events too. They like released unknowns or something. It was something crazy. So huge, fun, a crazy event. I remembering all this stuff now. Um, but Chum Lee was there, just hanging out. At the very like last day of the event, we were hanging. It was just me and I think Zach, Jim at Pokemon, and some other guys talking. Zach had two cases of like XY. I don't know what it was, like Steam Siege, Primal Clash, or something. And Chumley comes over, all sweaty, and Chumley like and just buys it all from him and talked to us a little bit. But that was like the original, I guess, like Chum Lee introduction into the community, and then he just like disappeared. Never heard from him again. Never saw him at events after that. And then now he's back. He did his thing with CDC, the box opening, and now he's going to Collecticon. Like, I'm curious to see what he's doing because he never did. He did like a base set box opening on YouTube.
Oh,
He
I
started like
I know what they're doing. I know what
he
Collecticon has them there for.
yeah he sponsored a team actually at one point
Hmm.
for the card game for the TCG.
Wow.
I don't know if that's still going on, but yeah, I'm excited to see he's back. He was one of the first celebrities into Pokemon, so at least publicly. So it's cool to see him come back. And which Collecticon is he going to?
Dallas.
Dallas. Okay.
Yeah. End of May.
Okay. Yeah. So that'll be fun. I
Yeah.
hope you get him on. That'll be a really interesting
Yeah, yeah,
conversation.
yeah. I mean, I have a follow up call, just to kind of iron things out, with Collecticon, the
Okay.
heads of Collecticon. So I'm hoping it works out, because I've been doing a lot of favors for Collecticon. So I mean, hey, I mean, if it works out,
Yeah.
it works out. I mean, so far, like every opportunity they've provided, like this podcast has been amazing. You know, having football players, having voice
Yeah.
actors, like it's definitely they've definitely opened up the floodgates for us because I mean not many people know this, but when Yizzy and I kind of started this podcast, you know, we kind of went into it saying that hey, we're gonna have to rebrand the podcast name, like it can't stay Poke Tea Time, like we're gonna have to like, you know, break out of certain barriers and not stay super niche with Pokemon because like this has to
Yeah.
grow and has to scale. So in time, you know, it'll happen, but you know, it's still really cool for that to happen, and yeah, but
Or you just keep Poke Tea Time and start a different one with a
that's
different
very
name
true too.
that's more
That's another
broad.
option that
Yeah.
we currently have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I want to know what's something that you're doing now. What's something that you're doing now that most people do not know you're doing? Because I know you're silent, but you know, obviously, there's only like
Yeah.
28 people in here, and you know, none of us, all of us, know how to keep a secret. So you can go ahead and tell us
Well,
if you have something that's going on.
let's do some promos first. So I'm
Yes.
streaming. I'm trying to stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on YouTube.
Yes.
I typically do like card hunting on
Yes.
Japanese websites, eBay, whatever, and then I'll end it with a little gaming. Um, I am currently doing random openings of TCGs and sports and Pokemon Tuesdays and Thursdays. Although I screwed the one up today. I posted it on Monday. Um, Still getting back in the hang of things with YouTube. And then I'm actually doing a Whatnot break tomorrow, first edition Gym Heroes box. So come hang out for that. I'll be live on YouTube for that as well if I can get it to work.
Mm.
Um, so doing a lot of that. But what else am I working on? I guess from a business side of things, I am looking for as many like first edition base set cards in CGC and BGS 8 and 9s because I think they're extremely undervalued. Like I just got this BGS 9 quad 9 Chansey. Um, and looking at it, I'm gonna crack it out and send it to PSA.
Mm.
Which that's a rare occasion for Beckett. Usually they're way overgraded, but this one is a solid 9, I think. So if I could get a PSA 9, that'll be nice. But that's what I'm looking at. Base set is just one of it. Obviously skyrocketed when Logan Paul entered the hobby,
Mm.
and then it just plummeted after
Yeah.
all that hype.
Heavy.
So first edition base is the number one set and will always be the number one set. It's the thing that people go after when they first get in the hobby. It's the thing that people always get excited about when they see it. So the fact that 8s and 9s are selling for what they're selling is just idiotic to me. I wish I could buy more. I wish
Especially
like
given, especially knowing that the rate at which a lot of this stuff is being open,
yeah,
and the
and
rate
at the
at which,
cost.
and yeah, and the amount of influencers, the amount of eyes that are getting onto this, it's
Yeah.
like knowing that everyone should have the foresight to understand that this is something that you probably should hold on to, because I don't know about you, but I personally believe that in our lifetime we're going to see, I mean, obviously we won't see the last box being open, but I feel like we're going to get to that. I like it might not be 10 years, but like with live auction based platforms like Whatnot, Drip, Loop, Network, all these platforms, even eBay, a lot of these auction houses, content creators, influencers, it's expediting that process. It's a catalyst as to what's going to come. So I think
Yeah.
knowing that foresight, it's just smart to hold on to things. And for all we know, this is probably going to be the cheapest things are going to be, as far
Yeah,
as some of these cards
possibly.
go.
Yeah, you never know. And like sealed boxes, they have seemed to hit a bottom
Yeah.
for a decent period of time now, and
Yeah.
I've seen them slowly ticking up again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe there'll be another wave of something for more box breaks. Like you said, those other apps could get heavier into Pokemon, like Whatnot did, which would increase the amount of people doing stuff. So it's also they're at price points where it's difficult to break and get the right value out of it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of push and pull with them right now. But boxes are always not always, but typically a good thing to hold on to. And um, yeah, I mean, there's always opportunity. There was opportunity when the market was at its peak in October. So
Yeah.
2020. Wow, that was so long ago now.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that's one thing that I'm looking at and been holding on to is first edition base set hollows in 8s and 9s, and then shadowless as well. I think they're just undervalued and
Yeah. I think Shadowless are extremely
underappreciated.
undervalued. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
What's
Other than that, yeah.
what's
Go
something
ahead.
that you're personally collecting, or what's the last thing you got that you don't plan on selling?
Um, I picked up some like lower end trophies for a binder. So I got like an Articuno phone card. I got a
Ooh.
Pika ring, which is right here. This is
Yeah.
a Pikachu victory ring.
You made an IG post on that, right? Or was it just a story?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
just recently just posted that.
Yeah.
Um, so that was like limited to 162. It was given out in 2005 and 2006 to winners of tournaments, first, second, and third place. So it's not like crazy rare, but just cool. And
I
then
guess my question. Oh, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
yeah, and I like the full art Pikas that me and an astronomical number. So I consider that a collection piece, that set. So yeah. But right now, again, like this is my business. So 99.9% of the things that I buy are for resale. I did buy some sports cards for myself that I'll probably keep. But yeah, until I get that like cushy job again, I guess it's all business. Everything's for sale.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, I guess like my question to you, because like this is something that I've personally always wondered, because I do want to get into I do want to eventually have a trophy card of my own. How did you get into trophy cards, and how would I mean, obviously you got into the hobby very early, but
Yeah.
what would you say is the best way to get into trophy cards given the current circumstances of this current hobby? And this could be a question that someone might want to ask, within our current audience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a matter of being ready and timing.
Mm,
So, with how optimized the market is with buying from Japan, um, it's really nearly impossible to get stuff now. I mean, there was a TMB number two, Tropical Mega Battle number two, that was pretty sun faded that sold 2 weeks ago for 33,000, which is extremely undervalued even for being sun faded. But it sold within like seconds of being listed. Um, so it's a matter of timing. Like you need to have money ready, and by money I mean anywhere from 100 to $1 million if you're looking for an illustrator. There's an illustrator available right now. Uh, but you need to be cash ready and you
hmm
need to have somebody like on the ground in Japan essentially to get it for you as fast as possible.
Do you feel like
If you
you'd be?
don't,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
if you don't have that person on the ground, then you need to have money with a middleman in Japan, someone that you trust to hold money for you and buy things as quick as possible. Otherwise, you're stuck with the buyees, the Zen markets, who take 2 days to buy a card for you, and within that time period, the card could be gone.
Yeah.
So it's strictly in the way that the market is. You need to have cash ready and somebody on the ground in Japan.
Do you feel like knowing the information that you currently have today, if you were in Japan, you could easily source this stuff out? Like, do you feel like you'd be extremely competitive if you were like, let's say you had a month in Japan, and knowing the sources, knowing the resources that you currently have, do you feel like it'd be a little bit easier for you?
Um, well, no. Like there's a couple people out there already. There's Nito. Um,
Yeah.
there's just a few other people that I know that are connected to the majority of stores, to the majority of auction houses
Mm.
out there, and can pretty much get their hands on it as quick as they want,
Before
quicker
anyone
than
else. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I there's a huge barrier of language. If I could speak Japanese, that's a giant advantage.
Yeah.
Um, but it's literally if I could be in Japan and have that access, it would literally only come down to money.
Mm.
Um, because I have those connections with those people as well, I could just be able to get there quicker than anybody, and it's a matter of just having the money. So, um, yeah, money talks right now. That's all it is
Yeah.
for trophies. Before all this craziness, it was who's willing to take the risk of throwing 20 grand at Japan and hopefully getting the card in the mail. Like that was it, you know.
Yeah.
It was who's willing to take the risk. Now
Yeah.
it's who's the fastest, who's got the most money.
Yeah.
So there was a lot more leeway even a year ago to have an advantage in getting stuff. Um, and I guess again, just having the foresight of like which cards to buy, which ones are like understanding the I guess the language that was used in descriptions of Yahoo Japan auctions and stuff like that. So you knew
Mm.
which cards were actually in good condition, which ones didn't have indents and stuff like that. Dissecting the image as much as possible. Like,
Because some of those images aren't the best.
oh, I mean,
They're
they have
horrible.
improved greatly, but they're still horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the advantage back then was understanding how to buy the cards through Buy-E, through Zen Market. It was understanding the language that the Japanese sellers used, um, and then being the one willing to take a risk. So that was it. That's what it came down to. But now it's literally who has the money ready the fastest.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, that seems to be the case. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And like, I mean, some of these middlemen out there, even though, they still take a lot of time, they're still extremely cheap. Someone like Nito,
Yeah.
who charges what I couldn't afford or want to pay for something because I've been spoiled, but he charges still a fee that makes so much sense for something like this. 10, 20%, whatever it is, depending on the value. But uh, like like it is 100% worth that much. It's if you're able to afford it. And um, that's all it is now today, is just
Mm,
having the money. Because you can go on Instagram, go on Twitter, find the card, but you need the money. That's all it is. It's all out there.
yeah. Yeah. Um, I forgot is it Daisuke Orb that shows a lot of the Instagram post with like stuff that's like prototype based cards. If any of those cards were ever graded, like even the prototype Snap contest cards were ever graded, or even
Yeah.
that Charizard that showed up, do you think that those cards would outpace in terms of price a lot of the current cards, like even like even trophy cards, like
But
even let's say
the prototype Snap were never made. Those were
they
just
okay,
pictures.
those
Yeah.
were
So
just images. Okay.
there was never cards made from that.
Mm,
Um, the like one of one stuff that he shows with like the winner's face on it, like one of those sold a couple years ago. My buddy has it. He paid, I think he won it for 70,000 or something. They're so niche. They're
yeah.
so unique, and to a lot of people, it's weird because there's a kid's face on it. It's not a Pokemon.
Yeah.
I don't think it will. Um, the prototype Charizard, the prototype base set that we saw
Yeah.
from, I forget which Japanese artist it was, or
It might
person
be Ken
in the company.
Sugimori. Yeah.
It wasn't Sugimori. It was one of the Creatures Inc. people, or one of the
Okay.
company people. Um, I can't remember off the top of my head, but those absolutely would fetch crazy numbers. Nothing. It wouldn't beat out what the Illustrator 10 sold for. Um,
You think it would sell more than
PSA 10 Charizard, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Speaking just the Charizard, would it sell for more than? Yeah, I think that's a. I have no idea, but I
Yeah, I
think
mean
it'd
it's
sell
all
for
speculative,
over a.
but yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be over 1 million.
Mm,
Yeah,
makes sense.
unless they
Um
came out with like 1,000 of them, and like someone was
yeah.
just like, but uh, yeah, that would be wild. That would be absolutely wild. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
I'm happy that
Um
we see that now.
yeah, yeah.
It's really
It's
cool.
really cool. Yeah. Like you would think that a lot of that information, a lot of these pictures would already be out given how many years it's been. But
Yeah,
the fact that we're still kind of learning all like so much newer information even to this day, and people are still being the detectives they are, it's crazy. It's really cool. It's really honestly, like, it's a pretty exciting time to be in Pokemon right now. Um
yeah. So much
Currently
more
it's
info's
cool.
coming out.
Yeah, there's just
Yeah,
so much
like
stuff. Yeah.
like for years I've always been saying, gosh, I hope because we know that Magic has. Ooh, yes, thank you. Oh, jeez, Lord trips. I got some water. You're okay.
I have to
The
change the title now. It has to say with radar in some of Don
yeah,
Diego.
with Don Diego. But yeah, for years, like following like Pokemon, we just always follow what Magic was doing, right? Like,
Hmm.
oh, Magic prices are going up, Pokemon's going to go up, and Magic has prototype cards, play test cards, artist proofs, all that stuff, and we just never even saw a hint of it from Pokemon. Like, do these exist? Do they have prototype cards of the original base set? Are they out there? Like, why haven't they ever been shown? There's never been pictures. And then they came out with that creature stack for the 25th anniversary that had the Chansey.
Which
And
I
we're like,
want.
oh my God, dude. I I mean, I was dumb and I was so dumb I didn't look for it when it first came up. I just assumed it would never be available, and of course, a bunch of them, not a bunch of them, but a number of them sold. And then I found one during my live stream for 40 some thousand, and it was gone the next day, probably because I was
Ah,
live streaming. Uh, so I couldn't buy it at that price. I thought it was too much, but it's not too much. The prices are going bonkers on that. So um, yeah, I just like it was astonishing to see that they actually exist and that they're out there.
yeah.
And now we have this full set that exists apparently. Um, so yeah, it's
What
really exciting time. It's really cool.
what actually excites me even more is because like they waited 25 years just to kind of put that out, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
sure they have stuff ready for like the 50th anniversary where it's like you have like the first ever like draw like imagine a drawing of something on like a napkin for all we know like that would be insane if that were to happen and we just got like wind
Yeah.
of it and they released it like for the 50th anniversary. It's just crazy because like it's just it's so secretive, but that's what I kind of like about it. um
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I don't know what's left. I mean, that
yeah,
was kind of like the final piece for me was the prototype cards.
yeah,
Um, I don't know what can beat that out. I know there's some like there's pictures out there of other stuff that we've seen of like literally cards we have never seen like scans of or anything.
yeah,
Like you know the Ishihara GX card?
yeah.
Apparently there's another one that was given to him on his birthday. It's like an Ishihara tag team card, and the only picture we've seen of it is like it being handed to him during his birthday in some picture. And people just like, did the whole like FBI enhanced zoom on this and figured out what it kind of looked like. But from what I know, there's never been any information on it. It's never been seen like clearly. It's just been seen in this weird handoff picture during from like a newsletter from the Pokemon company. So there's like random cards like that, and there's a another picture of I think it's when Expedition was released in Japan. There was like a display of Expedition cards that I think were all unlimited. I know there's some unlimited that are super rare out there,
Uh-huh.
but there was more that like we haven't seen. So it's just like it's just odd. It's just there's these weird oddities, and even in the Pokemon Bible, the Silver Bible, there's a couple cards that like they were the images from the Pokemon trading card video game,
Yeah.
but they're in this book, which kind of make it seem like they may have printed some, or they have some like prototype copies of these cards like for real. So there's all these secrets I think that are still out there about Pokemon that we don't know. So I hope hopefully we figure more stuff out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it just kind of shows that with time in the hobby and the right kind of networking that you could potentially do could put you in this position where you do get first dibs at this kind of stuff. Like it's just so
Yeah.
cool. Like I see a lot of these people who are heavily involved outside of like the trading card space. Like they're involved in some way, shape, or form with even the artists themselves, where they're able to get
Mhm.
their hands on this stuff, which is kind of crazy. It's like what's
Yeah.
left, and I'd like to know what's left. It's like, hey, just tell us now, like sometimes I wonder if Pokemon themselves has a like a vault like of stuff that Pokemon has released throughout the years. Like in that vault, do they even have a Pokemon Snap machine or it's just stuff that I'd
They
like to
must
know.
have a copy of every single card, right? They
Yeah,
must have that somewhere.
yeah.
Um,
And I feel like
we're
Satoshi
still
probably has like a one of one. I
oh
would assume that he probably would have to have a one of one.
yeah, there's got to be other crazy stuff out there. I think the
Yeah.
Pokemon Company made a card for somebody's wedding once. They made like a Chansey card with the wedding couple on it, like officially made a card for this wedding. It was
Kind of like what
like
Magic did.
but it was just one. It was just like one copy. It was just weird. Um, and like the whole like I mean we haven't truly seen the Pikachu snap card yet, so that's another thing we get to wait for.
Yeah.
I think one sold like 12 years ago or something. At least that's what I heard, but I don't know. Like yeah, there's a lot of things that are just like held secret and kept close to Pokemon out there in Japan.
Hmm.
Um, that just I don't know if we'll ever hear about or see or it's it
It's
sucks,
crazy
but
to
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about because it's like it's so secretive, but it's just like like as a collector with something that cool, it just makes me wonder like if it's just like a normal person who has this. Um, this podcast is in the red. Okay, we should be good. Okay, we're good. We're good. We're good. We went out for a
Okay.
second. Um, no, it's just like if you had something that cool, why are you keeping it a secret? It's like what's stopping you from telling everyone? Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
It's crazy. It's just all crazy. It's exciting, but it's all crazy. But
yeah.
we're kind of rounding out the time. Before we end the podcast again, make sure you hit that like, comment, and subscribe. We are available on Apple and Spotify. Fun fact, we got on Apple Podcasts not long ago, maybe 10 weeks ago, and so far it's outpacing our downloads on Spotify. When Spotify was like the all-time leading aspect of our downloads. So if you're listening with your ear holes, make sure you give us a 5-star rating and give us a positive review. And if you have a negative one, just shoot me a DM before you do that. I'd like to know the constructive criticism first, at first hand, and maybe give me a second chance. Let
Who
me
do you
fix
use for your podcast hub?
Buzzsprout.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Is that
use
free?
what? No, it's like $20 a month. I
Yeah.
basically use
Okay.
what Jordan Fringe is using for the Shadowless podcast. Shout out to the Shadowless podcast. Make sure you're listening to them too. Shout out to them. Shout out to Super Duper Danny, Real Breaking Nate, Jordan Fringe. All good people. Um,
Great people.
yeah. Uh, I have some questions from the chat. So Axie said he needs wise words of wisdom when it comes to Dragon Ball scorecards. So fun fact, guys, before we started this podcast, we were we legit were talking about Dragon Ball score. So like if you have any wise words of wisdom, let them know because I know you're very heavy into Dragon Ball score. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I was one of the, I guess, early adopters of that stuff because that was my first true love was Dragon Ball Z. Don't open any packs or boxes chasing ultra rares because it's like 1 in a billion packs. Truly, like it's incredible how hard it is to pull from that era from the score stuff. So just buy them. Don't try to open them. Uh, that's just that's like the only wise word. Also, like don't expect any PSA 10s ever or Beckett even like nines. Every single card from a pack is like a PSA 5. So if you get an 8, be happy with it. Um, that's just the how it's gonna go with DBC score. But yeah, stick to the personality cards. I think find um, the characters you like and buy all the URs that you can. It's a fun thing to collect, and it's not crazy expensive. So definitely a nice little sidebar if you get bored or priced out of Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great, vintage based TCGs that if you do get priced out of Pokemon, there's so many opportunities in the TCG space that can actually improve your position in Pokemon. So like, let's
Yeah,
say Neopets all of a sudden starts hitting a huge spike and you have a good position on it, then you can sell that and put that towards Pokemon maybe.
yeah.
Um, there's just so many different plays that people can make. That
That's
I
what I
think
told
it's
Hodges about his.
wise.
You ready to sell and buy some Pokemon? He's like, heck no, I'm not selling my Weiss. He loves that stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
he's all.
like,
I joke with him. I say he's the CEO of Weiss because I remember like
like
peak Pokemon time, peak like in 2020, right? You have people who are selling high in Pokemon, selling whatever position they have high, and then when things came down, they were buying back in.
yeah,
No, he sold everything and not everything, but like a lot of the stuff and went straight to Weiss. Then I'm like, man, you
that's like
had
a
the
thousand
foresight.
X for him.
Yeah, I was like, you had the foresight to buy high end. Like, dude, he was telling me that he bought like a card for $8,000 at that time, and I'm like, if that card was $8,000 at that time, I wonder what that card would be worth right now. And it's like, who freaking knows,
Yeah,
man? I always joke around and say he's the CEO of Weiss, and I think he's always gonna be that person for it because I don't know any other figurehead when it comes to content behind it. And then all of a sudden Weiss exploded this year. And I was like, how did it explode so fast? But yeah, I'm going through here. I'm trying to see questions in here. Charlie Herlocker regarding hobbyists once said, go for a walk, take some time away, make sure you're happy. The hobby is part of you, but all of you matters. What do you think about those wise words from Charlie Herlocker? Because Charlie Herlocker always drops some dimes of knowledge. I mean, you have too in this podcast.
I listen to everything Charlie says, so I emulate Charlie as best I can. But yeah, I mean, I've experienced burnout more than once doing this stuff, and it's so easy to get caught up in what other people have, what other people are doing, what other people say about you or to you, and social media is only the good parts of someone's life, or not even good parts, like good like seconds, good moments.
Mhm.
So it's really important to understand that like you need to focus on yourself and what's going on in your life instead of what's going on in someone else's, because the number one I guess like the number one competitor to yourself is your own self. Like
Mhm.
you need to beat out what you can expect of yourself. You need to beat out what you thought your limits were. You can't
Mhm.
put yourself up against someone who has a completely different line of resources, completely different
Yeah,
past, or whatever. It just doesn't make sense. So because
because I had
you'll lose every time.
right, because I actually had someone in my Discord who felt completely defeated because after what they saw this weekend, they're like, dang, like I'm never gonna be able to have that. But at the same time, it's important to appreciate what you have, because what you have is something that no one, like someone else, could be looking at you with that kind of same light of envy. So it's all about being appreciative of what you have, and kind of just staying in your lane, and going about your own way of getting what you have, because like at the same time you can also be your own, like what you said, you can be your own worst enemy at times.
Yeah.
I kind of want to take a pause real fast and talk about the sponsors of this podcast. The sponsors of this podcast is TCG Stadium. TCG Stadium is a online card shop based in Nashville, Tennessee, where they house a lot of modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon product. Be sure to go check them out at tcgstadium.com and just check them out. Make sure you buy some stuff if you want to. Our other sponsor is Double Infinity Gaming. They're a online card shop based in Florida. Will and Julie, they'll take care of you. They have pretty much a multitude of old and new TCGs, you name it. Even if you need help in terms of competitive play, they're happy to help you out. So definitely go check them out on Instagram and on TikTok. Finally, we have Pokemon Network. Pokemon Network, Ken Lee, that dude, he has everything. He has some of the most affordable cards to the most expensive cards. That guy's always doing something. If you're at these shows, make sure you go to his booth. He's the guy that wears the Charizard onesie. Feel free to haggle him down as much as possible. And this is not a sponsor. We are not sponsored by Collector, but Collector is an app that pretty much helps you track trends in the hobby, whether it's, and that doesn't necessarily have to be in Pokemon. They track things from MetaZoo to Akora to, I don't know if they have Akora yet, but Flesh and Blood, even modern Pokemon products. So like they even track prices for sealed modern Pokemon product as well. They're always improving on that platform, and I'm gonna let you guys know. Just download the app. There's cool things to come. Trust me, there's gonna be some really, really cool stuff that's gonna happen. AJ Carrera, shout out to AJ Carrera. He said, appreciate what you've said, Radar. A lot of people here, I think, myself specifically, I'm definitely thankful to have you on the podcast again. You dropped a lot of insight and really, really good stories. I think, so far, I think the past few episodes, this is no, diss at any other previous guests that we've had, but, the last few podcasts have been pretty top tier because, it's just the stories, like just hearing the, your experience in this hobby and, your perspective and how you view things. It's just so interesting to me as a collector and even as a friend. It's so, I appreciate that. Thank you. And, I'm very excited to play some Fortnite maybe later tonight or tomorrow or whenever it happens. I'm always pumped to play.
I'm gonna make sure Laura's awake so that we can play. But
yeah, I
dude,
mean,
like,
no promises, obviously.
I appreciate your friendship so much,
Yeah.
and
Thank you, man.
I think your friendship with Laura too. I mean, that's kind of how we grew, was through her. So,
Yeah.
um, I you've been such a great person and helped out a lot of people who, we're smaller than you in the social media world, and helped them grow. And you've been a great insight for people. And thank you for continuing the podcast and getting
Yeah.
through all the obstacles that I wasn't
Ah,
able to
man, nah.
beat.
This podcast
So
is not going to
it's
stop.
yeah, it's good to have this
Yeah.
still running. And yeah, hopefully you get it all worked out and find a new co-host, and or take it on yourself and see what happens. So
Yeah, we'll see.
um, I'm excited to see.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think that covers everything with this evening as far as the podcast goes. Um,
I mean, there's so many more trophy stories and talks we could have, but we could save that for
yeah,
something else. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, Logan Paul, $6 million card, $5 million card. It's just a million. What's the difference?
Hmm.
So he can buy it. We can't. Be happy.
Yeah,
Enjoy the hobby.
yeah.
Um, you were never gonna buy it anyway, even if it was 10 grand. So stop complaining, and yeah, have a good time. Enjoy
Man,
yourself.
always drop it. Just always dropping the blunt aspect. I love it. Like that's the one thing I liked. When you were on the podcast last time around, it was just so blunt, and it's like, like so many people have so much to learn. It's just like people really do need to listen to a lot what Radar has to say. Like I take a lot of advice. I take a lot of notes from people like himself. Even new people in this hobby. Like I shoot, even AJ Carrera, who's in the chat right now, I take notes from him. Always look towards people, small and large, because you never know what kind of value they provide to you. So on that note, we're gonna go ahead and close out on the podcast. Typically we always have this podcast for about an hour, but this was such an enjoyable podcast, we had to keep it longer. We'll see you guys in the next one. I was gonna call you Yizzy for a second. Dang. John, you should know how we close out the podcast. We always sips up, deuces, and we say peace out on it. But we're gonna go ahead and do that right now. So everyone, even if you're behind the screen right now, I want you guys to do it with me, or I will cry. So sips up, deuces, and we're out. We'll see you guys on the next one next week. I don't know what kind of guests we will have on this particular podcast, but I'm hoping something will happen and something will work out. But I will say this, 2 weeks from now, we have old school Pokemon. We have Palatine Pokemon TCG, and we have Crystal Pokemon on the podcast. So make sure you guys come through. Laura says stop dabbing. I say keep dabbing. Do what makes you happy. And John, I love that you're always flexing. I think flexing is healthy in this hobby. Yeah, just keep it up, and I'm very excited to see what kind of stuff you're cooking up now that I'll find out a year from now. Yep. So see you guys on the next one, guys. Peace.